Hello everybody and welcome into my den. My name is Ellie and it's a pleasure to be your guide for today's reading, which is all about your bloodline's heritage. So it's all about what your ancestors left behind that you've inherited basically. And I just want to say that this heritage could be anything. It could be a material one, it could be a spiritual one, it could be even traits that you've inherited from certain ancestors that came before you. It could even be karmic blessings from your ancestors' actions. So I've let the door open today for whatever your ancestors wanted to talk to me about. And I just thought that this will be a great reading for those of you who have been wanting to dig more into your roots or have been wondering where the hell you come from. And whether you spiritually believe that we come here into this life choosing our family or not, I don't think that there's a right answer to that or a wrong answer to that. But I do think though that because we share this special blood link with our family, I do believe that our family are passing down to us a lot of spiritual gifts and a lot of spiritual luggage. So in a moment, you will have the different piles on the screen and you can take your time to tune in with your ancestors and ask them to help you out, connect with the pile that is meant for you and will resonate with you the most. And once you have selected your pile, you can go down below in the description box and click on the timestamp associated with your pile, and I shall meet you on your reading. Welcome to your reading pile 1. So let me just start by saying that I'm already a little bit sorry if my voice sounds a little bit raspy or if I talk a bit from the nose today. I've been fighting quite a bad flu from during the last 2 weeks, and so hopefully this won't distract you from the reading, but I really felt like filming this reading today. So yeah, hopefully it won't distract you too much. But today we're taking a look at your lineage heritage. So whatever your ancestors left behind that you have inherited, whether these are soul gifts or karmic contracts, maybe traits or anything like that. And I'm leaving the book open today for whatever wants to come through. So yeah, it should be a very interesting reading for those of you who have been wondering what is so special about your own bloodline. So let's get started. We have here the card of reunion. Then we have the card of sweetheart. Then we have prison. So I am immediately getting a lot of long distance relationships, sort of like impossible love, separation, maybe even broken homes, with the energy of those cards here already right away. And I don't know how this ties into your heritage pile 1 exactly, but that's something that is coming through very strongly somehow. But yeah, let's see what tarot cards you guys have received. And then for your tarot cards, we have the 5 of Pentacles, the 10 of Cups reversed, the Knight of Wands. Finally, we have the 6 of Wands reversed. Okay, yeah, so lots of separation here, stories of families being torn apart, family members being sent away. This is quite a heavy pile, and also there is an absence from the men here that I'm feeling for some of you on this pile today. I wonder if some of you come from a family where men maybe weren't like really at home as much, maybe that they had to leave to work for weeks and then come back for a weekend and then leave again. Some of you definitely have family in the military because I can see it clearly. I can see a woman that is writing to a man and looking forward to reunite. So maybe that some of you come from a lineage of men who have been in the military, and maybe that it's a tradition for men to kind of like follow each other's footsteps like that. And war is also coming through here. Men leaving for war and leaving their family behind, leaving their wife, their children behind. And it's kind of weird because there's a lot of pride in that though, that I can see with this Knight of Wands and the Six of Wands reverse here. It's almost as though like family reputation or the family name or the family honor is kind of like at the forefront here. So you could have a lineage with strong patriotic values, Pawan, where the community has to come first and where parents were ready to sacrifice a lot for the future of their children. And injustice is also coming through here. Like tragic injustices. And somehow, like this feels related to a grandparent for some of you. So, wow. Okay, this is so specific. Like this ball is giving me a bunch of specific messages meant to reach like the few people who need to hear that. But there's immediately a grandparent energy coming through in here. So maybe that some of you witness a grandparent of yours in this life going through some kind of injustice. Yeah, lots of injustices here. Lots of like having to fight for my freedom, having to fight for my country, or having to fight for my rights type of energy. And if some of you don't have direct ancestors that you know that have been in the military, then I wonder if some of you could come from a family of immigrants as well. Maybe that you are a part of a minority group that had to fight for their own rights. Or maybe that you have ancestors like grandparents or great-grandparents who immigrated in your country of origin after the war. Like I know that it's the case for me. Like my grandfather immigrated when he was 18 after World War II from Poland to Canada. And that's where he met my grandmother and he married her and so on, had children with her and everything. So, but then there's also a portion of you guys who do not know a lot about your roots, is what I'm getting with this Ten of Cups reading reverse here. I'm not sure if you or your parents, if you or a parent of yours was adopted maybe, or something like that. Maybe that there is a branch that you don't even have contact with anymore. And maybe that this is why I felt like a very absent masculine figure somehow. Maybe that some of you in here never knew your father. And maybe that some of you as well have relatives or ancestors who have been in prison for an extended amount of time, who finished their lives in prisons. Like, wow, like this is a very rich history, Pawan. Like, otherwise, I'm also getting that some of you definitely have like Acadian or Cajun roots as well. Cajun, I think that's how you say it with the accent. Because that's another thing I see here so clearly for some of you. You know, like my life partner is an Acadian, so I've learned a lot about that from him. But basically Acadians were French colonists in North America and Canada, and it goes down to Louisiana. And Cajuns are basically the French colonists who settled in the Canadian maritime provinces, so Nova Scotia and New Brunswick in the 1600s. And the settler basically named their region Acadia. And they were known as Acadians. Surprise, surprise. So I believe it's somewhere in like in the 1700s, like mid 1700s, where like the British threatened to expel the Acadians unless they pledged allegiance to the King of England. And of course, a lot of them refused. And so they also refused to join the British in a fight against the First Nations. And so what they did, basically, what the English did to assimilate them is that they split the families away and sent them away. So men were separated from the women, children were taken away, families were torn apart, and some Acadians found refuge in Louisiana with a strong French background and Catholic heritage, and over time, many existing elements of Creole culture also fuse with their own unique folklore, music, and food. So that's kind of like a summary of it, but some of you may that come from North America like me may definitely have ancestral roots with Acadians or Cajuns. Some of you may have ancestors who were deported, maybe even ancestors who have been enslaved. And I know that it's a big thing with the African Americans, but I also want to point out the First Nations who suffer greatly. The Latino communities as well, who left their country to have a better, the kidnapping of Chinese people as well for building the Great Railway. Like, that's something that a lot of people don't talk about. And, you know, immigrants from World War II, like I was saying, and other great world disasters like that. And, you know, I'm just talking from a North American perspective here, but wherever country you come from or culture you come from, I'm pretty sure that there is a different version of that somewhere, because, you know, humans be humans. Like, I mean, cruelty, war, slavery, injustices, those things have existed like since the beginning of mankind and have existed in all types of societies as well. So take it as it resonates, but that's what came up at the top of my mind as soon as I saw these cards. So some of you may come from a single parent as well, who was fending for you and your sibling, maybe even struggling financially with this Five of Pentacles here. Maybe that his parents struggled just as their parents before them did. And maybe that you saw them working their ass off growing up just to put bread on the table and break the shackles of the financial burden that they were fighting with this Five of Pentacles, this card of prison here, and this Knight of Wands. And I'm saying that because, you know, I'm having right now, like, you know, like the typical like image of, you know, the classic single mom that works extra shifts at Chili's just to make ends meet. But Pawan, there is a country or a great big part of the society that you live in that has been built on the hard work and on the back of your ancestors. Let me tell you, if it wasn't from your ancestors' sacrifices, we wouldn't be where we are today. We wouldn't be able to enjoy the luxuries that we have, or we wouldn't be able to live as safely or as freely as we are today. If there is one thing that ties all of these different stories together, all of these different communities of people together, that I'm picking up here in the same kind of like bow tie, is sacrifices. I feel that great sacrifices and a lot of blood has been shed. And with this Ten of Cups reversed here, I also feel that you guys come from roots of a strong community bond, a community that helps and takes care of each other. But I also believe that with this card being reversed, I also feel that the great fights, the great challenges, and the great injustices that your ancestors had to endure, try to break that at some point or separate you guys at some point. They've tried to. All right. So the world has tried to separate you, to break your identity or to break your spirit, but it couldn't, because the heart, the courage, the strength, and the resilience of your people, of your community, of your hearts conquered through time. And you guys bounce back. And the proof of that is that you exist, Pawan. Wow. You are that great big legacy. Pawan, it was always in your blood to be the gifted fighter that you are, that comes back on top. The great legacy and heritage that your bloodline has left for you is the strength that you carry in your spirit and in your bone. Your strong faith too is another thing that I see. And it's beautiful to see how your family or your tribe made these sacrifices for each other so that the next generation could have it just a little bit better than last. And so, you know, you carry that strength and that resilience in your soul. And this is why you are meant for great success in this life. With the Six of Wands reversed. This card may be reversed, but it's still the energy that is in here. It doesn't cancel that
success energy here. So you may be the first one in your line to finally reach financial freedom or finally reach a certain amount of success as well. And by success, I don't necessarily mean like career related, because for some of you, it might be other things than that. Like I hate it sometimes how like people have this clear idea of success as though it has to be something that you're getting money from or winning your life over. But like there are so many different types of successes, right? And like to me, a successful life can be achieved in so many other things outside of work, outside of your daily job. And so for some of you, this success could be like happy family, a safe, reliable, united home. Maybe because you never had that luxury growing up. And you know, a wealthy, healthy, and happy family may have not been what you had, but that's what you will leave behind, Pawan. This wealthy, healthy, happy family will come from you. And for those of you who had a happy childhood, despite all of that, then let me just say that the universe in this life will give you the means to be able to give back what has been given to you once. Because that's in your heritage to have that capacity. It's in your blood to turn tragedy into survival, to turn failure into triumph, loss into victory. I love that. Let's take a look at your oracle cards now, you guys, to get some more messages. So we have, look at that, you guys, who have a card of abundance. Yeah. See, that's what's on the way. We have here intuition, and we have kindred spirits. So yeah, your ancestors may as well have gifted you with a very strong intuition and sixth sense. And I get that this is because a lot of them had to find their way through the darkest of times, and a lot of them had to dodge the bullets and find creative solutions to survive or to sense the danger coming as well as sense where the right opportunities in their life were at. And you know what? I also believe that it's this instinct or intuition that enabled some of them to create abundance out of nothing in their life with this card of abundance here. It's crazy because I don't feel that Pawan may come from necessarily like rich parents, but maybe that they did everything that they could so that you and your siblings wouldn't lack anything, even if that meant that they had to go without themselves. Even if it meant putting themselves in a state of lack so that you would be abundantly provided for as much as they could. So I just feel like someone here did their very best. A lot of your ancestors did their very best for their children and grandchildren. And I feel like some of them tried to compensate for another parent maybe that was absent, or they tried to compensate for what they had lacked themselves in their own upbringing. And you know what? Because it's in your line to be able to make bread out of flour and water and create abundance where there's a need or where there's a lack, I feel that this is another gift that they have left behind for you to tap into, Pawan. You have this ability to create abundance too. Like I've said, you may be one of the first people, in your bloodline to achieve a certain amount of wealth or a certain status, or it could be an abundance of love as well, or a spiritual abundance. I don't want to like take you to Cringeville, but it's true what they say that abundance is first and foremost in mindset. And I feel like from a Pawan, you guys have intentions that are so pure. Like as long as everybody is happy, as long as everybody is healthy, you feel abundant. And because of that, you are supposed to bring great success, great achievements, and pride to your family. With this Knight of Wands and Six of Wands reversed too underneath, like earlier. And I also keep feeling with this card of kindred spirits, the same thing that I've kind of felt earlier with that previous Ten of Cups reversed, where I feel like you come from roots and a background of a very strong community. I don't know why, but it feels also like something changed that at some point or tried to separate that. And I don't know if some of you witnessed that as well in your own family, in your own lifetime, where maybe that a grandparent or aunt or uncle or maybe like a cousin or sibling or parent was the glue to everything, was the glue to your family, and maybe that when this person passed away, it's like everything collapsed or everybody got divided. Kind of like a spiral to a notebook being ripped off and all of the pages falling down. But a strong community is what you are used to. And if you have not lived that strong community in this lifetime, that's what you are used to in your blood, because that's where your heritage, your lineage comes from. So whether you had a strong community or not growing up, it's in your blood to be able to recreate that somehow with people. Because a lot of people in the past of your family had to rely on each other or depend on each other for their survival. And community was the foundation of your ancestors. And that's what you are here to transmit, whether you had that or not growing up. So if you didn't have that growing up, that's what you came here to bring back inside of your family, Pawan, I feel. I keep picking up on that very strongly. But yeah, your achievements in this lifetime are already making your ancestors very proud, Pawan. There is a lot of pride here in you and a lot of faith placed on you from your ancestors to carry on their legacy as well. Shall you choose to have children of your own or not, to carry that legacy of identity through your work or through your spirituality or through your art, whatever it may be. I keep getting that you, Pawan, are meant to unite or lead or be the voice for people who will be acknowledged or recognized through that ancestry and identity that you bring inside of your work and inside of your life. And a lot of material rewards, abundance is meant to come from that. But it's a part of your heritage to be able to build communities, to heal communities, to be the glue that hold people closer together. And it comes from this strong sense of community that you carry in your bloodline. But Pawan, this is all that I'm seeing from your ancestors. I hope that this reading could bring you back closer to your roots. And I want to thank you so much for having shared this time and space with me today. And I will leave the link to my store and social medias down below if some of you have been wanting to book a private reading with me or just simply keep in touch with me. And I shall see you soon for another reading in the next video. Bye bye, you guys. Hello, pal 2, and welcome to your reading. So I just want to start by saying that I'm so sorry if my voice sounds a little bit raspy today or if I'm talking a little bit from the nose. I've been having a really hard time trying to heal quite a bad flu for the last 2 weeks, but I'm getting there slowly but surely. And today I was starting to feel a little bit better and I really wanted to film this reading. And so hopefully this won't distract you too much from the reading. But yeah, today we are taking a look at your lineage heritage. So whatever your ancestors left behind that you have inherited, whether these are soul gifts or karmic blessings or traits that have been passed down to you, anything like that. So I'm leaving the book open today for whatever wants to come through. And so yeah, so this should be a very interesting reading for those of you who have been wondering what is so special about your bloodline. So let's get started. We have here a card of faithfulness. And we have Lover. And here we have Merchant. For your tarot cards, we have the Fool, the Queen of Pentacles, the Eight of Cups. Finally, we have the Hangman. Okay, how to... You know how people are saying that there was a time where we simply just repaired the things that were broken instead of just replacing it, or instead of just like swiping left like we do on Tinder or just buying something new. There is this kind of energy in here. There is this energy of turning like trash into treasures in some way, to find the profit and the losses, to turn what has been broken into something of value again. So your bloodline developed this incredible resourcefulness from all of these experiences where they had to do their best with what they had, or where they had to cope with what they had and make the best out of it somehow. There is a sense here of people looking at what, instead of people looking at what they would like to change about their situation or their life, basically, they focus on building, on working and creating with what they've got. And I just want to say that some of you definitely have someone in their line who was a well-known artist, who traveled a lot, or had a lot of travelers in their own line, perhaps. Great merchants, great barters. I also saw, okay, this is really specific and it may just apply to maybe like one person in here, but I also saw someone with some kind of like antique shop. So I don't know if this is you, Paltu, or somebody down in your line that is connected to you, but some of you could have always felt drawn to the past, to artifacts of the past, to the aesthetic of the past, to the music or the art of the past. Maybe that you are that person inside of your family that keeps the old black and white picture of like family members you didn't know, like that used to belong to like a great grandmother or something like that. Like, I just get a sense that some of you give your ancestors love and life through their belongings quite a lot, that you could be maintaining for them or restoring or adoring on their behalf. And so I know that it's a very specific message that just came through, and it will either totally resonate or not. Sorry about that, but yeah, I'm feeling that my Paltu come from a very diverse line. You may have a lot of different cultural roots. There may be a lot of cross-cultural breeding down your line. Maybe that your mother and father are from two different kind of like worlds or two different countries even. Or maybe that it's a bit further than that with your grandparents too. Or it's difficult to relate to your immediate family sometimes because your bloodline is so diverse. So I get the sense that home is a bit difficult to point exactly where it is for you, Paltu. Like this Fool here and this 8 of Cups here. And it's because home could be actually in multiple places for you, if that makes sense. But yeah, I get the sense that your ancestors traveled or move around quite a lot here. You may even have ancestors who have been very well known internationally or abroad, or who were trading or selling goods abroad. Or a lot of you guys may have had explorers or conquerors as ancestors as well. I get the sense that Paltu have some important people in their ancestry somehow, especially with the Queen of Pentacles being present here. And by important people, because we are all important here, of course. But what I mean by important people is like people of great renown or people of great wealth, of great status. You know how like merchants back then were like a part of the upper class? It's kind of like that. So it's also funny because with this Fool and 8 of Cups, there's really this sort of like it really mirrors like an energy of freedom, of exploration, even risk-taking. But then there is this Queen of Pentacles and the Hangman here that are the complete opposite of that. It's almost like conservative. It's almost like a conservative feel, like almost loyal to a fault, almost like under shackles type of energy here. And to me, that relates to what I was saying earlier when I said that your ancestors are very resourceful. And I feel that in your life, they help you stick it through a lot. Like they help you, give you the tools and the guidance to not give up, and they provide you with reasons to not abandon what you have started before you finish it correctly. Paltu. So I don't know if some of you are the types of people where maybe when something has gone a little bit boring or a bit too stale, it's like you want to leave. Maybe because you think of it as though, why would I keep letting myself suffer or put energy into something if that makes me unhappy? But then you kind of know that about yourself, and you know that there's a lesson for you in sticking it through the pain to make something incredible happen. Or maybe that for some of you, it's the complete opposite of that spectrum that I've just mentioned here, where maybe that you recognize that sometimes you tend to stay in painful situations a little bit longer than you should. And no matter which scenario you can identify with here, I feel that it comes from your ancestors. Like this is an ancestral kind of like karmic energy here. This is an ancestral trait that kind of like has been passed down to you, which is why it's in your blood to want to make the most out of your current opportunities or current situations, pal, too, even when the odds are sort of like against you a little. So I get the sense that your ancestors are this spiritual force in your life that often bring you at a stop for a reason. They stay you put right where you are so that you can learn how to be happy with what you have and make something great with what you have. And that's because down your line, you have some incredible people who have defeated the odds and certain expectations of them, or that made a name out of themselves by how committed they were to their dreams, like the Fool here. And that's why your ancestors passed down this incredible faith and hope down to you that they cultivated through their history and through generations. And you know, faith and hope to me are a skill. Like they are a spiritual gift, definitely, because it takes a lot of intuition and it takes a lot of vision, a lot of conviction in order to like see a future where there looks like to be none, to see a solution where there are just problems surrounding us, to see the benefit, the profit, the blessing or the lesson in the difficult times. To me, it takes like a lot of vision and a lot of intuition in order to do that. To see how the vase can be repaired and turned into a work of art instead of just scrapping everything and starting back to zero. And to me, that's what fate is. You know, your ancestors are saying that they are passing down this wisdom and knowledge because they know that in this world filled with consumerisms, filled with greed, filled with dissatisfactions and selfishness, there is sometimes little to no room for true lasting happiness, true lasting abundance. And a lot of people don't know the true value in what they've got until they built it themselves. A lot of people don't know that abundance and prosperity are meant to be built to begin with, but they are meant to be built. They are meant to be built by you, pal, too. So the legacy that your ancestors are passing down to you could be knowledge about how to create opportunities and even wealth with this Queen of Pentacles here. For some of you, it could be a business that is being passed down to you as well with this card of the Merchant here. Because I'm kind of like seeing old money being passed around here, like old cash inheritance that has been sitting somewhere for a long time. Or maybe that this is more so in line of like on a metaphorical level where this is a business idea that is going to be passed down to you. But there is something here about your ancestors providing you this ability to turn a chance or a statistic into a great opportunity to profit from, to turn ideas into money. There's this ability to build and create opportunities where there's little of them too. And again, I feel that this comes from this line of ancestors that were very wealthy, or that knew how to manage money very well, that knew how to barter, how to negotiate, how to find the right opportunities and take risks with this Fool here, how to spot those right opportunities. So it's very odd here because my pal too may have ancestors further down your line that were entrepreneurs and made really great successful business or choices. And I also feel that some people down your line may have made themselves rich or become rich at an older age as well. It's like a funny detail that I'm getting somehow. Kind of like, you know, I was reading an article last week about like a man who is like 90 something year old that won millions at Lotto. It's kind of like that. Like a lot of people in your family, it's like they ended up being completely independently self-made. Like a lot of them had very particular sets of gifts that they decided to capitalize on. And maybe that they started with barely anything at their name, but that by the end of their life, they created something amazing out of themselves. It's like, that's because they never gave up or abandoned what they love. With this card of the lover here and faithfulness, let me tell you. So it's almost as though those specific individuals in your family line pass down their own Midas touch to you, pal two. That's their legacy to you. It's like your blood is sort of like strengthening this ability in you to turn your talents, your knowledge, your success into wealth. Some of you may even have like a good sales pitch or have a gift to really convince people or sell them on your ideas when you really believe in them. So it's almost like also that influencer type of energy or that trendsetter type of energy that I'm feeling in here, to where in this lifetime you're going to find a lot of people somehow who are going to be willing to support you and to believe in you or to partner up with you, to put their faith and trust into you, to invest into you even. It's funny because this ancestral legacy, it almost feels like a soul memory in a sense that not everybody in your family has tapped into, but you are deciding to tap into it, pal two. So I don't know what's going on in your life right now, but you are tapping into that soul memory from your ancestors for a reason. It's very unique and I didn't expect that. So let's take a look at your oracle cards now to get some more messages about that. We have the card of peace, transition, and union. So there's a couple of things coming through here. This card of transition, it truly reminded me of that previous Eight of Cups energy and full energy. It's that traveling energy, passing over to a new phase of life. And I feel this card of transition is also related to the previous Queen of Pentacles as well, like material heritage that I sensed for you guys earlier. It's like something material has been transitioned here. Something material has been passed down to some of you to carry on some sort of legacy here. And this feels like a physical gift. It could be anything. It could be small, it could be big. It could be as small as a ring. It could even be a wedding ring that got passed down to you. It could be cultural gowns. It could be as big as a house, as an estate, or an ancestral piece of land. I keep getting this sense that you are my power. There is something material as well that you are meant to inherit from your ancestors somehow. It's that old money being passed around type of feeling again. And I feel that a lot of you have this sense of union with your ancestors through that specific legacy. So for example, if it's a piece of jewelry, maybe that when you wear it, you can literally sense the presence of your ancestors around you. And if this is a place like an old family home or an old land, maybe that when you go there, that's when you feel that union or that connection to your ancestors. Maybe that this is where this veil in between you and your ancestors tends to be the thinnest as well, if that makes sense. But with this kind of transition, whatever has been passed down to you is definitely a way to honor and commune with your ancestors. And there is magic in that thing. Whatever it could be, whether this is an object or whether this is a place. And I feel that this thing is supposed to stay within your family line too somehow. And your family only, pal too. I don't know why, but your ancestors are pressing to me on that message. It's like they have chosen you to carry on that heritage. They chose you as the receiver because it brings them peace to know that you're taking care of this thing with the Queen of Pentacles, that you are the owner of this thing, or that you're the guardian of this thing, and that you will respect this or carry on the legacy of this. It's in good hands. You know, the traditions of this, and it's like you're not just someone who is going to just neglect it or get rid of it or just sell it to anyone. It's like they want that thing to remain within the family, whatever it is, if you know what that is. And it's not that those material objects are the key to communicating or connecting with your ancestors at all, because I mean, your ancestors will always be there with you no matter what. But I don't know why, but I felt like this message concerned a very few of you who have been chosen to carry on a certain protective role over something ancestral that used to belong to your family, that used to be important to your family somehow, and that got passed down. And this thing shall be passed down as well to the future generation, shall you decide to have children or not. This thing is like a spiritual relic or artifact. And then there's another message here that I'm receiving as well. And this concerns what I was saying earlier when I said that a lot of you guys were perhaps confused about your heritage, maybe because you have so much origins, or home could take roots a bit everywhere. So maybe that it's difficult for you to pinpoint exactly your identity or to clarify your identity. And for those of you that this resonates, your ancestors want you to know right now that your cultural mix and richness and diversity is your richness. It's your heritage, it's your identity. So if you are of mixed parents or mixed origins, there's also a gift in that somehow that they want you to recognize. So you don't have to feel like you have to choose one root over another or one culture over another, because that's like wanting to choose a part of yourself over another. And all of these things, they live in union inside of you, and they live at peace inside of you. So I don't know why this message is coming through. I don't know if some of you have felt like pulled in different directions, like you had to like you didn't have, maybe that some of you felt as though you were never fully at home with your father's family, like you were never at home in your mother's family either. Maybe that, I know that like it's the case, but like I'm going to a very extreme example right now, but I know that, for example, I've talked to some people once that were of native, they had a native parent, and then the other parent was just Caucasian. And I remember that person saying to me that they felt like they belong nowhere, like they didn't belong in their Caucasian world, like they didn't belong in their native world. It's like they were rejected from both worlds because they were a mix of the two, right? And so that's the only example that is coming to my mind right now, but I don't know why, but there's peace that you're supposed to come in terms with. In terms of that somehow. You don't have to feel like you have to choose one root over another, one part of yourself over another. All of those things live inside of you. They are something that you can connect with at any time. And your ancestors, they stand united as one, as a whole in the astral. In the astral, there are no divisions. There are no separations. And so if you are confused about who you should address in your spiritual workings or what cultural element you should incorporate in your spirituality, then they want you to think of them as a whole. Okay? Because some ancestors, they married or had offspring with someone completely different than their background, and it is for a reason. Those unions were sacred, and they created spiritual contracts of peace with this card of peace. So don't worry about a part of your roots feeling excluded or feeling rejected. You are the multi-layered being that you are, and your blood has drops of origins in so many different places across this planet because this earth is your home. Pal 2. Your ancestors are a whole. and they stand by each other's side proudly as a united army. In the spiritual realm, there is no division, like I've said there, for when it comes to your ancestors, at the very least. So I don't know if some of you struggle accepting yourself because throughout your life you may have felt like you fell in between the cracks, not being fully accepted into one side of your family or into a certain community, and maybe not being accepted in the other one either. You're kind of like this fool, right? Walking this line in the middle, not being one nor either, but being both, being all of these things. And that's for a reason. That's a gift, not a curse. Okay? And I feel that your ancestors want you to come to see it that way. They want you to find peace and to come into terms with that, to come into acceptance with your own history. That's a message that I really, really was getting here strongly. But Pantsu, this was all that I'm getting from your ancestors. I hope that this reading could bring you back closer to your roots. And I want to thank you all so much for having shared this time and space with me today. I will leave the links to my store and social media down below if you have been wanting to book a private reading with me or just have been simply wanting to keep in touch with me. And I shall see you soon in another reading in the next video. Bye-bye, you guys. Welcome to your reading pile 3. So I just want to mention, like I've said to the other piles today, that I'm so sorry if my voice sounds a little bit raspy or if I'm talking a little bit from the nose today. I've been combating a pretty bad flu for over the last 2 weeks, and I've just started to get a little bit better today, and I was getting super excited to film that video, so I chose to do it anyway. But yeah, I hope that this won't distract you too much from the reading. But today we are taking a look at your lineage heritage. So whatever your ancestors left behind that you have inherited, whether these are soul gifts or karmic blessings or traits that have been passed down to you, anything like that. I'm leaving the book open today for whatever wants to come through. And so yeah, it should be a very interesting reading for those of you who have been wondering what is so special about your bloodline. So let's get started. We have here, we're starting up strong. We have the card of misfortune. Don't be scared now, all right? Don't be scared. It's nothing bad. Nothing in tarot is bad, ever. Then we have Scholar. Simply means that you're a badass when you get these types of cards. Then we have Friend. Then in your tarot cards, we have the Devil. Then we have the Six of Pentacles. Now that's an interesting Six of Pentacles. Then, ooh, we have the High Priestess. So I already see where this is going, huh? And then we have the Page of Swords. Pile 3. Your blood is related to a clan or tribe of people that were here a very long time ago. And this group seems like one that has been very stigmatized or very stereotyped or rejected from society. So it seems like the group of ancestors that you feel most connected to are people who were ostracized somehow. Maybe that these are the individuals in your family spread across your bloodline that felt like the black sheep of the family, or that felt like they couldn't fit in with the rest of society or the rest of the family or what their community expected of them. So I don't know if this is personally how you feel about your family. Maybe that you feel like you can't relate or connect to their conservative views or to their traditions. Maybe that some of you estranged from a part of your family even. Maybe that some of you had a difficult time growing up in a family that you did here as well, thinking that a lot of your shadow with this devil stems from the toxicity that you had to deal with, or that corrupted you at some point, coming into the family that you were born into. I get the feeling that a lot of you don't relate to your immediate family somehow as much as you may connect or could relate to people who were here a very, very long time ago. Ancestors that came way before you, or a couple of generations ago down your line. So let me just say to you, Pile 3, that a couple of your ancestors who felt the same exact way as you do are trying to contact you. And even if they are in the spirit realm, this clan is your family. And those people feel closely connected to you. You can count on them. And I feel that those ancestors, they were lone wolves of their own time for various reasons. Some may have been isolated or rejected for being artists, for being visionaries. With this Page of Swords, for speaking their mind, for believing in the things that weren't accepted by the general public or that were even a little bit taboo maybe with this Devil here. And then there are some of you in this pile here as well, where I wonder if you had a group of ancestors that were perhaps nomadic or move home often, or maybe that they lived at the margin of society or something like that. It almost makes me think of a Gypsy group type of pile. I guess that it's because of this Six of Pentacles here and this High Priestess and this Page of Swords here. But it kind of feels like my group of oddballs somehow. And with unique talents who couldn't fit in anywhere, with unique talents, unique personalities that couldn't fit in anywhere because, all right, let me tell you what I see here. I keep seeing like the image of a freak show, and I keep hearing the word freak, and not in a bad way, okay? To me, well, at least to me personally, I wear the term freak as a badge of honor in my own life. But so I mean it in a positive way is what I'm trying to say, where a lot of those ancestors that are around you are people who chose to remain true to themselves rather than conform like sheep. But maybe that some people judge those ancestors or criticize them for their beliefs or for their lifestyle that they chose, or the things that they connected with and identified with, the things that they were interested in. With this card of this color here as well, are the friends that they will make and hang out with this kind of friend here. And the Six of Pentacles really calls to me somehow. It's so weird because for a lot of people, it's the major arcana that are very important to them in a reading. But to me, as a reader, well, I read the cards very intuitively, right? And there's always like a random card that draws my attention or that speaks to me the most. And sometimes that card will be a minor arcana, even if there are major arcanas in here, because I really connect to the cards through my sixth sense. But yeah, for you in this reading, it's really the Six of Pentacles. Like, Pile 3, you may have ancestors who lived their life very apart from the rest of the world. Kind of like I mentioned, maybe that you had ancestors who were thieves, who were performers, who were diviners with this High Priestess, street artists, or maybe that they will exchange their unusual gifts or talents in exchange of money, in exchange of food, in exchange of a place to stay. And I don't know if some of you are performers or artists yourself, or have an unusual gift yourself. Maybe that there is something that you are studying as well, or interested in, or would love to learn. But maybe that this tradition or this discipline or this craft is very unconventional. But that's where your ancestors seem to be leading me at in this reading somehow. Because your ancestors definitely gifted you with something special here with the Six of Pentacles. The heritage that your ancestors passed down to you definitely feels to be knowledge. With this Page of Swords, Pile 3, spiritual knowledge with this High Priestess right next. Spiritual knowledge is a gift that your ancestors gifted you with, and you're supposed to follow that, Pile 3. So our spiritual abilities, they always come from the universe, but because we share a blood link with our family genetically, we're also being passed down a lot of gifts from them, like I explained to you in the intro of this video. So some of you may even have ancestors who were priests, who were priestesses, spiritual teachers and students, maybe even people that studied the occult at some point, not only with this card of a scholar, but also this card of the devil here being present. And what I'm getting is that they were trying to implement some sort of knowledge or science here. And I feel that those ancestors are close to you to entrain you in that sacred knowledge or wisdom, because you don't want that knowledge or wisdom to be forgotten or to be suppressed or to simply die with them. So there's a lot of knowledge and wisdom that your ancestors are imparting to my pile 3 with, and that knowledge will be downloaded to you through those unique talents and skills that you will study in this life. And this could be anything, whether you are learning how to sew, or you're learning about herbalism, divination, occultism, or whether you are an acrobat or an actor. This pile seems really specifically targeted for my spiritual workers and artists, though. That's what's coming through here the most. But this group of ancestors, this clan, if you will, is responsible for passing down a lot of your spiritual abilities tied to those talents, pile 3. And they are also in charge of strengthening those abilities too. And this is why you may have always felt different than the rest of your family somehow, or like the black sheep of your family, or just I just want you to know that everybody has spiritual abilities. So it's not that the rest of your family doesn't have them, but not everybody will tap into those abilities or activate them in this life, because connecting to our abilities, I mean, it has to be a choice, or we have to open that door somewhere in some way. And I get the sense that either most of your family is not really into that kind of stuff. And so they have that connection with other type of ancestors, right? Or maybe that there is a specific line of your ancestry that you specifically connect with above all, pile 3. So maybe that, for instance, you come from a line of healers, of sages, of witches that lived here a long time ago, and maybe that you connect to this line of your history specifically. But for you, pile 3, I wonder if you have tried to connect to the spirit realm more, or have been inviting in your ancestors more. Maybe that you already work heavily with your ancestors too. For those of you who don't work with your ancestors though, you could have recently developed an interest in knowing where you come from and knowing more about your roots with this Page of Swords here. And maybe that some of you have been wondering if there were people like you in your family before, people with similar gifts or beliefs than you, or who wanted to pursue a similar lifestyle than you. And yes, you absolutely do, pile 3. You do have ancestors that were just like you. So you have a spiritual relationship to the world and to your life that runs really deep. And because of that, you have opened your crown chakra. And that crown chakra is that door from which your ancestors are visiting you from and communicating from into you, to you, sorry. So because you are more spiritually open or spiritually active or spiritually receptive to the spirit realm, your ancestors are taking advantage of that to pass down a lot of valuable information to you. And chances are that they probably reincarnated as well a lot of their own gifts, or a lot of the knowledge that they have accumulated themselves in their own lifetime into you, because I keep getting that this is a very exclusive thing, like it's a clan thing. You have to be in the club, or you have to be into the same kind of stuff in order to have access to this knowledge. And because you are, those ancestors, they see a lot of similarities with you, which is pretty cool. Yeah, let's take a look at your oracle cards just to get some more messages about that, you guys. We have here freedom. Then we have gratitude. And we have protection. I love that. Your ancestors are definitely proud of you, Pile 3. And they have so much gratitude for you being part of their descendants. I just want to say that some of those ancestors may also be part of your spiritual team, because it feels like that to me. Like they are not just here temporarily or when you call upon them, but they are there working with you and alongside you in your own spiritual practice and in your day-to-day. And it's like they are here to protect you as well with this kind of protection. But regardless of who you become, regardless of your past, regardless of the things that you want or that you resonate with that are different than the rest of your family, your ancestors want you to be free to love the things that you love and to be around the friends that make you happy and to pursue the dreams that you have. I feel like that needed to be specified somehow, and I don't know if it's because some of you could feel like some family members disapprove of you, or maybe that you don't feel supported enough by a lot of your family members, or like your family, maybe it's like your family couldn't give you the right chances or the right tools or the right opportunities. Kind of felt that somehow earlier with this kind of misfortune as well. Maybe that there are some people in your family that made you believe that your differences are something that you need to rectify rather than a gift. But you can lean on this group of ancestors, Pile 3. This group has your back, and you've inherited their originality, their free spirit, their freedom of individuality. And that's because there is a purity in your soul and in your light that you were supposed to bring inside of your family in this life. Do you see how like on all of these three cards, there are wings here on both this card of protection and freedom? We have like white birds, and then on this card here of gratitude, the lady there, she has like some butterfly wings. And I think that your family didn't expect someone like you, or maybe that your presence surprises them a little, because there's a lot of lightheartedness and a lot of spiritual, like a spiritual well full of love that you have to bring here. And who cares if people agree with it or not? You are in your mission, and you've inherited this bright, this beautiful personality that you have, because that's the person you were placed here to be, to bring back a sacred balance inside of your family. Don't forget that. You know, your gifts, they're supposed to set you free. They're not supposed to be something that you feel ashamed of or need to repress in order to fit in inside of the mold. And your ancestors want you to make a promise to yourself, Pile 3. A promise that you will come back to this place a little bit more often than you have been lately. If you know what I'm talking about, because it feels like something or someone tried to stray you away or pull you away from your own individual self, from your own freedom to think what you want to think, to believe in the things that you want to believe, to love the things and the people that you want to love, to appreciate the blessings that are yours. This protection feels placed around you right now, but this group of ancestors that is trying to defend you. This protection feels like a safe space that those ancestors are creating for you in your life. So it doesn't matter which rejection happens in the world, who didn't pick you up, who didn't love you, who didn't believe in you, who couldn't help you, because this place of authenticity that you're coming back into right now, where you and those ancestors can communicate with one another, is a space where you will always be accepted, where you will always be loved unconditionally, and where you will always be more than enough. There's total freedom of expression, a joy, a joie de vivre, and of being that you have inherited from those unique people that rebelled against the norms to live a more creative, a more spiritually fulfilling life. And those people are your celestial tribe that will always embrace your quirks, your sensitivity, your creativity. everything that you wonder if it's a fault of yours or something wrong with you, everything about you that you consider to be a weakness of yours, a character weakness. It is safe to be fully you in this space, Pile 3. So you don't need someone physical around you to give you all of that, because at any time that you feel misunderstood or alone in your talents, you can come back to it inside of your mind, inside of your heart, and inside of your soul. You can even close your eyes and maybe picture yourself with those butterfly wings here, if that helps. But keep it a promise to always remain grateful for who you are, for who you have become, for how you have transformed your past, who you have developed to be, and the gifts that you were given. Especially when you feel excluded, like the world is pushing you aside for it, or forgets to be kind to you, or doesn't take the time to understand you. You are coming into a place where you are about to spread your wings like you never did before, Pile 3. And this sacred circle of ancestors is here to get you comfortable with that, to get you comfortable with those gifts, this calling, and those traits that you have inherited from them even. So Pile 3, this is beautiful. This is all I'm getting from your ancestors. I hope that this reading could bring you back closer to your roots. And I want to thank you so much for having shared this time and space with me today. And I will leave the links to my store and social medias down below if some of you have been wanting to book a private reading with me, or just have been wanting to simply keep in touch with me. And I shall see you for another reading in the next video. Bye bye, you guys.